Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Coaching Uncovered podcast. My name is Chris Berry, and I'm going to be your host for today. Joining us, we have Karen Covey. Karen, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing amazing, enjoying my Thursday morning, and excited to talk about some coaching businesses. Before we get into the details and more about your business, could you give everyone either watching or listening a little overview of what you coach people on?
Divorce. I take people from decision where they're caught in the do I stay or do I go headspace.
Mm,
And that's a place where I have found people can get stuck for a very long time.
mm,
So I take them from there and then I take them all the way through the process if they choose to go that route. When I'm helping coach them about do they stay or do they go, I have no agenda about whether I want them to stay or want them to go. It's not my choice, it's theirs, right? So if they decide that, yeah, I want to try to save my marriage, great. I give them resources. They go off and do that. If they decide I want to get a divorce, great. Then I help them create a strategy and a plan to get through that with less conflict and expense.
mm. And what made you want to get into this space? It's very obviously specific, and the specific niche is kind of guiding people through. Why
Hmm.
in the beginning? And did it start with this too, or did it develop a little bit?
Oh, life is about morphing.
Yep.
There's just no two ways about it. So
Yep.
I am also a divorce lawyer. I'm a mediator. I'm an
Mm,
arbitrator. I'm a collaborative divorce professional, and
yep.
now a coach. So I have been working in the divorce space for
Mm,
a very long time. But I didn't start in divorce as a lawyer. I started
mm,
as a trial lawyer, and
mm.
so I was like, put 12 in a box and let's rock and roll, right?
Yep. Yep.
And then over time, I decided at one point to start my own firm, my own law firm. And I said, I will take any kind of case there is, except divorce. And here we are.
How did that
So
happen? You went from not taking that
the
test where you do full time.
universe, the universe.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, people just kept coming to me and saying, "Hey, do you know a good divorce lawyer? Hey, can you help me with divorce? Hey." And finally, I was in my office. I went, "Okay, okay, I got it. Message received. I will do divorce."
Yeah.
And when I got into it, because I had so much experience going into divorce law, when I got into divorce court, I went, "This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen." I mean,
Mm,
even as a lawyer, it made no sense to me. Divorce court works differently than other branches of the court. And, it's one thing to say you're going to do a trial, put the CEO of some company that made drugs that killed babies on the stand, and you're going to rip his face off in cross-examination. Cool, great, no problem. But when you're talking about doing that to your spouse who you've got to sit next to at your kid's soccer game that night, like, there's no universe where that makes sense. And so I looked around, I kept looking for that better way, right? That's why
mm,
I became a mediator. That's why I became a collaborative divorce professional and an arbitrator and all the things. I kept looking for the better way. And
mm,
staying out of court, there's a lot of better ways now, but it wasn't like there was still something missing. And
mm,
finally, one day I had my own firm, but I was a solo. I never wanted to be an empire. I just wanted to hang my shingle, right? So it was
mm,
me and a secretary in the office. It was hot. And so I had my door open. Client came in. I did my thing, talked to the client for the first time
mm,
for an hour and a half, something like that. The client leaves, and my secretary, who had worked for all the big guns, the big law firms that did divorce in the city, she looked at me and she said, "You know, no one does that, right?" And I said, "Does and no, does what? What are you talking about?" And she said, "You just sat down for an hour and a half, talked to that person, and said, here are your choices. This is how it works. You do step one, step two, step three. Which do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, if they don't do that, then what do they do?" She said, "They give them a contract and say, sign here." And I said, "Well, I don't think that's right because it's not my life. They have to know their choices in order to make one, and I don't think I get the right to make it for them." And so that started my journey into
mm,
realizing there was a gap between what people think a lawyer is going to do and what a lawyer is really going to do. And
mm,
so I stepped into that gap to say, look, I can't change the system. I'm one person in one state. It's not going to happen. But I can change the people going into the system. And for those who I can work with, they're going to be better. And so that's what I started to do. And that's how I got into coaching.
Mm. And now, obviously, you help people with divorce. Is it people that are essentially on the edge that are wanting to go ahead and do that, or is it even going further back of like, if you're having problems with your marriage, let's fix it? Where do you come in those stages?
At this point, I
Mm.
mean, there is an expansion coming, but there is
Yep.
a morphing. Like I said, it's all about
Yep.
morphing.
Yep.
But right now, I start with people who are in the stay or go headspace. That's
Mm.
I work with a couple of buckets of people. That's bucket number one. Bucket number two are the people who already know they're doing this, whether it was their decision or their spouse's, because the reality is, I don't care who decides to get a divorce. It takes two people to make a marriage, but only one to get a divorce. And if your
Mm.
spouse wants a divorce and you don't, you can make it take longer or cost more, you're not going to stop it. So I deal with those people who know this is going to happen and they want to do it better. They want to be in control. They want to have a plan. They don't want to fight the war of the roses, right? They want
Mm.
to just try to make it through as amicably and effectively as possible. That's group
Mm.
two. And group three are the people who are halfway through. And typically what happens is they're halfway through, their lawyer doesn't call them. They don't know what's going on. They're stuck in the middle. They don't know what's happening. And they're like, can you help me? Can you
Mm.
please give me some ideas about how how do I get this done? Because fundamentally, all they want to be is done. Nobody wants to get stuck in this for years, right? Or they know they've got a trial date in the future, but they want to actually be proactive. They want to be prepared, right? And so I will step in and say, okay, I'm not going to make your legal strategy. That's for your lawyer to do.
Mm.
But I can either work with you and your lawyer as a team or independently just with you to make you a better witness, to help you show up better, to help you present yourself and your case better so that you do better in the end. So those are kind
Mm.
of the areas that I work with people in.
Yeah, interesting. So you obviously gave the story of how you came into this, how it continued to morph, right? As you say, and everything there. You've obviously been in this space for a decent amount of time, specifically just focusing on the coaching aspect, right? Of you doing this now.
Mhm.
What have been some of the best parts, your favorite parts of, I love doing this. And what have been some of the biggest challenges of your business?
My favorite parts are seeing the clients when they're done, seeing the clients grow. Like, because here's the thing about divorce is that it sucks, it's ugly, it's nothing anybody wants to do, but as you go through it, you're either going to become angry and bitter or you're going to grow and bloom. And I love working with people and helping them get to that
Mm.
growth and where they on the other side. I have clients who have like they're in beautiful relationships now. They never thought it could happen for them, but there they are. They're happy, they're healthy, they're financially stable. That like lights me up. Totally
Mm.
lights me up.
Yeah.
Or having somebody, they call me up after they had to go to a hearing or a trial or a mediation, and they're like, I did it really well. And they're so
Yeah.
excited because, and
Mm.
that's what it's really all about. They think it's about the thing they're talking. It's not. It's about the growth that they get and the
Mm.
transformation that they have as a human, right?
Mm.
And
Yep.
so that lights me up.
Yeah.
What is a little challenging from time to time, of
Mm.
course, is it's a coaching business and it's not like lawyering. That took me a while to figure out
Mm.
because as a lawyer, people came to me, they knew they needed me. When they were sitting in my office, I had an insane close rate because the
Mm.
only thing that they knew they needed me, the only question was it me or the guy down the hall, right?
Mm.
They knew
Yep.
they needed help and they knew they needed a lawyer. With coaching, it's different. People don't know they need a coach. They often don't know what a divorce coach does. They don't know how I can help. They don't know that I exist.
Mm.
So I had to learn marketing and sales and web development and copywriting and like all the things.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is I found out that I really like some of that stuff, which is a little
Mm.
nerdy and scary.
Yeah.
But I do, but I had to learn all that. And so it's like any other coach in the profession. The challenge is getting people to know you exist and what you do and how you can help them.
Mm. So on that point, then, how are you getting people to know you exist, know that they're needing it? What are the ways you're currently generating leads for your business?
Every way I can.
Okay. It,
So part of it is the digital part, and part of it is the good old fashioned going to network, handing out business cards, doing all the things, showing up at events, doing like the stuff that's worked since the beginning of humans. Then digitally, I've got all the things. I've got a podcast. I've got a YouTube station. I'm on, so I'm not so good on TikTok. I need to get on TikTok. But I'm on all the other social media platforms. I've got a website. I learned SEO. I mean, my website has over 200 articles on divorce and videos and audios, and like it's all the things. So it's every single place digitally. I've claimed every digital space that I can,
yeah.
so that, and it's interesting because I'll get one person from here, one from there, one from, like, it's all random,
Mm,
but it's about optimizing as much as I can. And I will say I have been doing this for years, right? Somebody coming out of the gate, you're not going to optimize it all at once. Pick one thing,
yeah.
pick one platform, get good at that, go to the next, pick that and that's how I built it.
Mm. And so you say pick one, which I feel is a great piece of advice because everyone tries to do everything at once and then they don't get progress and they're like, oh, well, this doesn't work. I don't think this is for me. They get discouraged and they stop. If you were to go ahead and say one right now that you'd recommend for other people, other coaches to go ahead and start with that is either the most fruitful for you or the most promising, which one would you recommend?
Whichever one their ideal clients are on.
I like that. See, most people go ahead and just give me a generic answer, but you're good with it. Okay. I
Thank
see.
you. I told you,
So,
marketing, I kind of geek out on it now.
yeah,
But
I can
here's the
tell.
deal. It's like if
Yeah.
you're talking, let's say Facebook, let's say that I loved Facebook and I was on there and I'm rocking it and I'm doing all the things and I'm building an audience, but the people I want to work with are on LinkedIn. I'm wasting my time. Or the
Mm,
return on investment that I get is so small that, to your point, I'm going to get frustrated. I'm going to get upset. But the other thing is, honestly, the key to my success is I don't give up. Like
mm,
when you're in that headspace of, oh, nothing's working, right? The key is to say, nothing that I have been doing up to this point is working. I got to try something else, or I've got to
mm,
try the same thing a different way. I just need a different angle. And it's because if you give up, you lose.
mm.
If you don't give up, sooner or later, even a blind dog gets a bone once in a while.
Like that. So obviously, you can tell you have a lot of things built out: website, podcast, YouTube, blogs, all these different social
Mhm.
platforms. You went ahead and you've been obviously building and building and building. When you first got started, two questions part of it. How did you know which of these to go ahead and pick and start with? Number one, and then obviously you said ideal client, but we should actually even say which medium did you choose your starting one? And then number two, where did you like get all these things? Like you obviously, I know you say you're geeking out on marketing and all of that stuff. Like how did you know, okay, I got to build this, I got to build that? Like where did you go in order to figure out, oh, this is the path that I need to take?
I read a lot.
Okay.
I read a lot. I, you know, took
Like books.
seminars, yeah, marketing, but
Okay.
like
Okay.
you like Seth Godin, like Gary Vaynerchuk, like
Mm,
all the marketing gurus who are out there
mm,
in
yep.
different ways.
Mm,
Copy hackers, copywriting school, like taking what I did. Now, mind you, you are talking to me with the benefit of a lot of hindsight, right?
of
When
course. Yeah.
I did so many things wrong. Oh my God. I tried to do everything at once. I tried to do everything. I'm telling you, don't do that because I almost
Yep.
made myself crazy. Like you don't want to do that.
Mm,
And now I see I don't have to. But for example,
yep.
the podcast. My podcast has been going for a year and a half. I've been doing this for, I don't know, 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. I
Mm,
don't know how long I've been doing this for, right?
yeah.
But I didn't do, it's not that I just thought of a podcast. I got to the place where I finally had the bandwidth to do a podcast.
Mm,
So I started, and back in the day when I started with blogging because that was getting a lot of traction at the time. If,
mm,
if I had to start today, I don't know that I'd start with blogging because you're not getting as many eyeballs. Maybe I would start with some sort of video or
mm,
some sort of audio. So it's about, but it's knowing who you want to talk to, what you want to say, and then where are those people at so you can say the thing that they go, oh, she's talking to me. That's what you're looking for. So whatever that place is for you, given your message, given your audience, given all the things, that's what makes the most sense to start. Because if you can start somewhere that you start to get a little bit of traction, you're going to go, oh, hey, it's working. And you're going to keep going. But if you start in the hardest place, which is what I did, thank you very much,
Mm,
then you just feel beat up for a very long time before you start to see those numbers rise.
mm. Understood. So now at this point, obviously you have a bunch of different people coming in on various mediums. They express interest. They say, yeah, I want to work with you or I want to learn more. They get on a call with you. What does that
Mhm.
sales process look like? And what do you walk them through to actually turn them into a paying client of yours?
Um, it's a work in progress. I mean, I try to figure out, what do they need? What do they want? I mean, first, the first thing that I think is very important for anybody is to know who your right clients are not, and try to filter them out so that you're talking to as few of them as possible. I mean, people say sales is a numbers game. I disagree. Sales is how many right people are you talking to and what's your conversion rate from those right people. I mean, if you talk to 100 people and 99 of them can't afford you, you're going to get discouraged as all get out, right? But if you talk to 10 who all can afford you, and
Mhm.
now even if you just convert five of them, like you're feeling way better, right? And you also didn't waste a lot of time.
Yeah.
So it's about having that filter on the front end. And then when I get on a call with somebody, figuring out, first of all, how can I help them? Am I the right coach for them? Sometimes they don't need a coach, they need a lawyer. And I'm like, here, let me give you some names. If you're in my area, I don't know lawyers all over the world, but it's like, this is the professional you need. It's not me. Boom. That's easy. And then, you filter those people out. And then for the people who are left, it's like, I find out, what do they want? What do they need? And then I just tell them how I can help them.
Mhm. And I like the fact of how upfront it's just like, look, here's where you're at. I want to help you. Let's have a conversation. Let me go ahead and tell you here, same thing like you did in the very beginning with the story. Here are the options, and here's where we're going to want to go based on what you shared with me. Essentially, it's kind of the process you take them through.
Exactly. And look, I've read all kinds of sales books. I've been
Mm,
in all kinds of webinars, and like I've learned all the things. And
mm,
what I finally came down to, I've got the book down here. I could grab it. It's called Black Sheep Sales. It's by Alicia Barr. It just came out.
mm,
Little
mm,
thin book, you can read. I read it on the plane coming home from a conference. And what she said in her approach, which I love, is
mm,
stop trying to use a sales process, an approach, saying, okay, now is the time to ask this question. Then I have to ask, because first of all, it doesn't feel authentic, and the person you're talking to can feel that,
mm.
right?
Yeah.
And so just be yourself, try to be of service, know the principles, right, of how to sell, which I got that, but it's not like it's not like I'm not reading a script.
Mm,
It doesn't work for me, and I don't think it works for most people.
mm,
But I also, part of it is, you got to get to the point where you know your worth, you know what you do, you know that you can help them, and you're not afraid to say, look, this is what I do, this is how it works, this is what it costs. Period. Because if you never ask for the sale, I guarantee you're not going to get it.
yeah, that is very true. So let's say you get the sale. They
Hmm.
say, yes, I want to become a paying client of yours. What are some of the best things that you do to keep people happy, get them success, everything along those lines when it comes to fulfillment?
Um, I First of all, I have processes, so it makes everything look and be more professional, right? You're not scrambling to, like they sign an agreement, they know what they're getting. I make sure everything is as transparent as possible. If people
Mm,
have questions, I answer them. And then it's just a question of, in the coaching sessions, getting them to tell me where they are and then helping them create a plan and have a strategy. People divorce is overwhelming and it's like dropping yourself into a black hole. You don't know how it works. So
Yeah.
just by being able to like lift the veil a little bit and say,
Hmm.
this is how it works. This is your next step. Let's get, it grounds people, right? Versus, oh, hey, we're going to talk about and my process is different than a lot of people. I don't have, okay, today's your second meeting. We're going to talk about this. It's no, where are you at? What do you need? How can we work through your next step, whatever you need, Mr. or Miss Client?
Mm.
And then that's kind of how, and then they start getting more confident once they facts conquer fear. Once
Mm.
they understand how the things work and what they're dealing with, it starts to calm down their system and they start to make more progress more quickly.
Like that a lot. That line you said, facts conquer fear. That's a huge line right there. Because ultimately, that's the biggest part of coaching. It's
Mhm.
people are missing something. If they would have had everything that they needed, they would have already been there. So
Mhm.
oftentimes it's limiting beliefs that hold people back. And when you give them
Yeah.
the facts, I like that line a lot. So
Thank you.
I'm sure that we could probably continue talking for hours about all these different things because I could even go, okay, well, tell me about this, tell me about that, and start and go all down these different paths. Especially, and that's the part I love about this too is that it's us as coaches. It's a matter of how do we continue to improve, how do we continue to get better. And you even talk about I've read so many books, I've gone to so many conferences, masterminds, coaching programs myself, and I'm just trying to improve it and that's the beautiful part behind it. And another beautiful thing that you said before, if you can stay in the game, you didn't say it to this exact word, but something along the sentiment. If you can stay in the game long enough and you don't quit, you don't stop, you will win, right? And you
Mhm.
will continue to go ahead and do that. And so it's a matter of like, how can we continue to improve and also see it in the long term? Because coaches, if they're just here like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make this course and I'm gonna make a bunch of money, and then in 6 months, yeah, I'm good, I'm out of here, and that's not gonna be the
Oh,
case, you know?
wait, I got a question.
Yes.
Did you bug my office when I started?
No way. Did you
That
explain?
was exactly where I was at.
No way. Really? Oh,
100%. 6 months. 6 months. Hey, I
in the very
started a
beginning?
law firm and I made it work.
Oh,
Why can't I do this? Of course I'll do it. 6 months. Not true.
interesting. Hold on. So what was the mindset shift that you eventually then had then? Because what I have found is that most coaches that have that, they end up giving up and they're like, oh, well, this isn't what I want to do. Right. Because they're
Mhm.
more focused on money. I'm assuming for you is more of like the solution that then led you down the path.
It was both. I mean, hey, let's be honest. I got to eat too, right?
Of course.
I'm not doing this just 100% altruistically. I have to make money. I have to I have to pay the mortgage. I have to eat. I have to all the
Yeah.
things just like everybody else.
Of
So it was
course.
a combination of both, and it was just a for me it just came down to I will not give up. Just not going
Mm,
to do it. I mean, somebody's got to make this work. Why not me?
yeah, that is true.
And when I started, nobody even knew what a coach was. I mean, I wasn't like divorce coaching had been around for a long time. I wasn't the pioneer of the idea,
Yeah.
but it was so new and so unusual. There were not a lot of people doing it. And there certainly were
Mm,
not a lot of people doing it online
mm,
or publicizing it online. And it
yeah.
was just about deciding not to give up. And for me, and this is just personally, the price of regret is always going to be higher than the price of, you know, conforming and, or like whatever. Hey, I could be making this much money as a lawyer. Yeah, but I wouldn't have been true to myself. I don't like regret.
Well, as I said, I'm sure we could go ahead and talk for hours more. What I would like to do before we wrap things up, though, is for anybody who was like, wow, like Karen, her message, I resonate with her, I want to connect with her, or maybe I even myself, or I know someone that I feel would be really good to go through, her program, her coaching, and everything like that. What is the best way for people to get in communication with you?
The best way is on my website. It's karencovy.com. It's KarenCovy.com. There's no E in Covey. Otherwise, I'd be related to someone famous and I wouldn't have to work for a living.
Okay. I like it. Well, it has been an awesome time chatting with you, Karen, and I look forward to chatting more here soon.
Yeah, me too. This has been fun. Thank
Awesome.
you.
It
Thank you
has been,
so
of
much.
course. Absolutely. So, everyone, that is going to conclude this episode of the Coaching Uncovered podcast. I hope that you were able to get as much value out of this episode as I did. I know at the end, I kind of already mentioned some of the big takeaways that I have, but I want to just kind of mention some of the biggest things for me. I'll go ahead and I'll do two. Number one is, it's an ugly process, and I just help them grow and bloom in that. And that was just something that was just so beautiful and profound, because that's really what it is as coaches. It's how can we go ahead and take someone from where they are now, regardless of how bad and ugly their situation is, and go ahead and take them to, their dream outcome and help them grow along the process. And one thing she didn't say this explicitly, but it was also selling people what they want and giving them what they need. Because oftentimes, to get the person to where they want to be, we have to go ahead and give them, or they need certain things. And that's typically the process of growing, blooming, and becoming, rather than only doing the outcome. I was literally just on a call 2 hours ago, and the person was saying that I would come in with clients and they say, oh, I want to hit this metric and this metric and this metric, monetary wise. And they do that. And then at the end, they said, look, yes, of course we hit these monetary metrics, but the most impactful thing that I got from working with you was the growth, was the confidence that I got from it. And that's what, Karen was just embodying. And I felt that was really powerful. That was point number one. And then point number two was pick one and build that channel, right? Where is your ideal client? Because ultimately we all only have so much attention units. And if we try to go every which direction, the probability of success significantly decreases. So those are two of the large points that I took away from Karen, that I got from her. I hope that you guys, once again, were able to get some value from this episode. If you did like this, please make sure to go ahead and like. If you are not subscribed, make sure to go ahead and subscribe so you can see more episodes. And we will see you guys here very soon on another episode of the Coaching Uncovered podcast.